My name is Erik Van Horn. I bought my first franchise in my 20s, and since then, I've owned 6 brands with 25 stores in 8 states. I've also helped 1,000 people find the right franchise for them. People like us who are not cut out for the 9 to 5 and like to work smarter, not harder. How do we find the right franchise, buy it, grow it, sell it, and how do we do it in a way to own the business without it owning us? Those are the questions, and I'm on a mission to give you the answers. Welcome to Franchise Secrets. Welcome to the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Your host, Erik Van Horn here. And today we have a very special session. It's actually one that I recorded inside of my private Facebook group. By the way, you all can join that. Anybody that's interested in franchising or is involved in franchising in any way is welcome to that free Facebook group. But one day I was getting a lot of questions, and they were asking me about, the questions were around specific brands. Should I buy this brand? Should I do this? Should I do that? And obviously, I can't answer all of these private questions, people that are asking me things like that. So I decided to go into Facebook and do a Zoom inside that private Facebook group for 1 hour. And as I was done with that, and especially towards the tail end of that call, I realized what kind of value that I just gave. I thought to myself, wow, anybody that's thinking about buying a franchise should absolutely be listening to this, because we talked about things that most people just don't talk about. And it wasn't because, any particular reason. It's just that we're not asked specific questions in a public format like that from people who are genuinely just wanting answers. So that's what I'm going to release to you today. If you want to join that Facebook group, go to franchisesecretsgroup.com, franchisesecretsgroup.com. All that does is it takes you to that private Facebook page. And there's about 750 people in there that are all around franchising. It's a great place to ask your questions around franchising. So jump into that. It's franchisesecretsgroup.com. But I hope you enjoy this. The audio might not be quite like it normally is, and the video not like it normally is, but the value is going to be incredible. I hope you enjoy. Here is the origin story of why we are all here. I woke up Monday to text messages, emails, and IMs, and there was a lot of them of people that started to reach out to me like, hey, Erik, I'm thinking about buying this brand. Is this a good brand to buy? Or I want to buy this. I want to talk to more franchisees in in the same industry with different brands. And seriously, it was a lot of people that day, wasn't it, Michael? I'm like, dude, I can't. Most of the time I'll try to answer one-off questions the best that I can, but we were just getting bombarded. And I said,
I mean, we get the question all the time, really. We
yeah,
get the question a lot. Yeah.
we get that question a lot, but it just kept coming in and coming in, like the same question, multiple, like a handful of times before noon. And so, and I said, I don't know what to do, man. I can't have calls with these people. I said, I don't have a solution. And in typical Michael fashion, he's like, I have a solution. And I'm like, okay, I'm all ears, because Michael usually has really good solutions. And he said, why don't we do just a Zoom so people can come on and ask their question? And because there's usually follow-up questions that I have to people like that. And then why don't we not just do it for them, but let's just do it and put it out in the Facebook group in general. So that's why we are here today. Lee, you just messaged me. And again, I don't want to put anybody on the spot to talk about things that they're uncomfortable with. So I'm not going to mention brand names unless you mention the brand name, just so everybody knows that. But I would like to have some follow-up. So if you don't want to come on camera to be on Facebook Live, then just let me know. But Lee, you had a question about service-oriented brands. Do you want to come on and ask me that question?
Yeah, I was want to get your view on service-oriented brands, i.e., Massage Envy. There's Hand and Stone. There's Amazing Lash. Something that's really focused on that service industry aspect, personal service industry aspect. I know there's some nail service franchises out there as well. I don't know them off the top of my head though.
Perfect. Well, I'm looking at people. Some of these people on this call are in my mastermind, and I was on the mastermind last night, and we were talking about some of the people own specific brands that you mentioned in there, and some of them are having really good success in some of these brands. But if you hear me say that and it stops at that, then people automatically think, well, that must be a good brand for me to buy. And it goes a lot deeper than that. Just because someone's having success, you really need to see why they had success themselves. Is it them? Is it the brand? Is it the location? So those are some things to be thinking about. Let me ask you a follow-up question to that. What do you like about these service type brands in the beauty space?
Just to be completely transparent, I do own a massage MV, and I kind of agree with you. It depends on location, ownership, et cetera. We've been, honestly been we've been able to manage through this COVID actually quite well. We are looking to expand, either potentially buying additional massage MVs, and looking at different brands as well. We like the aspect because one, I'm from Utah. Especially the beauty stuff is in high demand here. Something that the main competitors are mom and pop stuff doing in their homes, in their basements. And I think with COVID and kind of the concerns around cleanliness, etc., has driven a lot more people to the bigger names. And so that's what I kind of like about that. And then in addition to that, a lot of these models are now doing the recurring revenue, which is a big plus, especially in this market.
Perfect. No, thank you for that. That helps me out a lot. And so my goal is to help, like, just give you like some of my advice and opinion, but also help a lot more people out that are thinking different things as well. So when I first hear that, I think you are already in a brand. So anybody that's already in a brand thinking about expanding, there's a general advice that I would have for them is there's all things that we don't like about the franchises that we're involved with. There's things that we don't like about it. When I was in the tax business, I hated the seasonal aspect of hiring seasonal tax employees. And so then I swung the other way and like, I don't want seasonal employees. I want full-time employees. And then I realized I don't enjoy having a million employees in general. So it's not a seasonal employee thing, it's an employee thing. And that's really what led me to one of my favorite brands that I own, which was Solo Salon Studios, which is where we didn't have a lot of employees in general. And we were able to hire a really high level district operational manager that could do a lot of the things for us. That's the devil on one side of the shoulder. On the other side is when you don't have a lot of employees, you don't have a lot of depth in your bench to raise people up, and you can also get stuck if your key person leaves. If my key person left, and he did leave, but he didn't leave us high and dry. He left us with a plan in place. So if he hadn't been a man of integrity like he was, and we didn't have relationship with him like we did, that would have really hurt. So there's the disadvantage of that. The other thing that I see as just a red flag. So anybody out there that's in a good brand right now and it's a successful brand, sometimes we think anybody that is in a good successful brand, they start a new brand, it's going to be just as good as brand number 1 or brand number 2 that they started. This advice kind of hits home. I'm starting a roofing franchise with my business partner Josh Skolinek, who has had 2 very successful franchises as a franchisor. So this is his 3rd one. There's a successful track record there. That means a lot, but does that mean everything? Absolutely not. If they've taken what they've learned and apply it to their new thing, then that's great. If they try to squeeze more money out of the franchisee, they try to present something that is more than what it really is, if it's more built out than it really is, or the opportunity, they try to paint it in a light that is not really proven, or it's an industry that's not really proven out, those things are red flags to me. And I was on a call last night inside the franchise mastermind with a lot of really good franchisees in there. And they were talking about one of them bought a business because of the person's track record. And they put too much credibility on the track record of the founders versus just the industry and the systems and things that had been built in that. So that is a caution. People that came out of Massage Envy, right, Lee? You know them. That brand has produced a lot of really cool things. Orange
Yes.
Theory is one of the things that's rolled out, but they all haven't been Orange Theories that have rolled out of Massage Envy. And so I would just be cautious with that. And the other thing, right now, cautious in general with COVID. Here's the other thing that I would really look for in any brand that anybody's looking at getting into next is what is the price to really open up, like that true price to really open up. If you are talking to the brand and you're validating with franchisees, Don't just validate the things that you think are important, like how quickly did you cash flow or all these other things. Those are important, but did you open up according to budget? And why and how did you do that? And is there anything new that's rolled out that would tell you that you might not open up according to budget, or I might not open up according to budget in the future? I think that's a really, really big thing for anybody that is going into any brand. But that's something that I think a second or third or fourth time franchisee is really aware of, that they may not have been aware of before. So that is something to really, really look into. In the item 9, it's called the item 7 in the FDD for anyone that doesn't know like how to find those costs, but validate that item 7 with the franchisees. So that's just some generic advice. And then lastly, and again, this comes from inside the mastermind. Last night we were talking after the session ended, and we were just hanging around, just talking on Zoom. One of the members came up and said, "Hey, I was just about ready to buy this particular franchise in this particular industry, but then I reached out to this other mastermind member because I knew that he was in the same industry and is crushing it in the industry. And I asked him, because he has relationship, because they're in the same group, what should I look at this industry in this other market?" And mastermind member A, doing very, very well in that industry, gave this other guy looking at expanding into the same industry advice like, you probably don't want to get into it within this particular area because it's a different business model. And so I guess my point in all of this is, if you start to ask some of the detailed questions that really uncover specific things about your market, the employees that somebody might have, why they might be successful because they have a rock star unicorn employee. You need to find out why they're successful. Is it the location? Is it the employee that they have? Is it just because the guys? I know other ones where they're like, Eric, I'm probably as dumb as a rock, but the system just works. And like, I just put people in and I open up the doors and I just print money. I'm not going to tell you what that one is. I'll tell you that I don't work with it. I'm not a consultant anymore, by the way. I'll just refer people to different consultants. So I don't work with that one. But there are some out there that they just print money. And they're like, it's the system that works. And that's what the franchisees tell me. It's the system that works. So those are called unicorns, I think. And most of the time it's too late to get into those. And I told the mastermind members about that a while ago, and some of them started to dive into it, and they couldn't get into it for different reasons because it's pretty much impossible to get into it now. And who knows how that's going to last? Because even with that, I'm going off on a little tangent here. Even with that, you don't know the end of the story with that, right? It might be successful right now, but the end of the story, they might overbuild. They might have overpromised on some things. You just don't know the end of the story. Last but not least, culture is a really important thing. And I know with some brands that it can print money, but culturally, people don't want to be a part of it because they don't like that particular culture. At the end of the day, if you are a successful business owner, this is what I've said many times, and a lot of my friends are like, I just don't want to be in this business anymore because it's not fun anymore. Meaning the culture isn't enjoyable anymore to be in this particular franchise or business or whatever it is. So I want to get out. I don't care how much money I can make, because at the end of the day, and you probably know this better than most, it sounds like the money's okay, but you want to be in businesses that you enjoy, around employees that you can grow and develop, and you're in it because you want to be in it, not because you have to be in it. So guys, I just went on a really long tangent there, but hopefully that helped some different people out. Lee, was that helpful? Do you have any follow-ups? Was that helpful?
No, that was helpful. And my strategy is not to like to look to build something brand new. My strategy has been, and what I'm looking at right now is buying existing operations. I do see that there's been a lot of people who are, I think what you mentioned, are just exhausted right now, like having to deal with this COVID thing. They're exhausted no matter how much they're cash flowing. They just don't want to deal with it. And there's a lot of the unknown for the next 6 months. So I'm looking for opportunity to buy something, hopefully buy something cheap, to kind of get people out of having to manage through this difficult situation.
Yep, 100%, 100% get it. And I'm looking at opportunity. I just got off a couple calls today. One was with the one of the fitness franchises I own. Like, what's our strategy to buy? And it's and to, I mean, not to buy, but to expand. And it's definitely not to find an empty shell, spend a bunch of money to build it out. That is definitely not the strategy. It is to get in much less expensive than we could have before. And I just got a text from one of your Massage Envy colleagues that just, they joined the mastermind today, and I would just get with groups of people. You've got some incredible people in Massage Envy. You're probably connected with all of them, but anybody, that's general advice. Get with the really successful people in your franchise to start seeing what they're doing and why they're doing it. Thanks, Lee. Todd, you want to come on, man?
Yeah, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. My question is, as my wife and I, Gina's here, we're involved in a fitness brand. Obviously, fitness has gone through sort of a challenge this year. So we're in that mindset of just waiting for the unicorn to come in terms of perfect space, perfect location, don't have to build the whole thing out. So it's led us to sort of some of the service based stuff. We live in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's got older population, a lot of seniors. That trend's going to continue in our area for a while. So the brand is Caring Transitions. It's by strategic franchises. That person seems to have kind of serial entrepreneur, many of them sort of in the senior space. Don't know if you have any experience with it. Essentially, it's relocation, downsizing, estate sales. Intuitively, it's a bunch of stuff that I wouldn't want to do for my parents, even though I love them, and I feel like a lot of other people might be in that same situation.
What attracts you to that business? I'm talking about the model now, not the thing that it does, not the end product of it, but the model.
I mean, the model is what you were sort of speaking of before. I mean, cost to open is very small. No real estate, no office. You're kind of hitting the ground running for, maybe 75, $80,000.
This is what I used to ask people. So just again, for the record, I used to be a franchise consultant. I helped a lot of people get into franchising. I transitioned out of that to grow Mighty Dog Roofing as a franchisor and to grow my franchise mastermind called Franchise Tribe. And so those are the two things that I'm focusing on. I still refer people out to different people, different consultants out there. And I know there's some consultants on this call right now. So it's really done for me is free me up. So like everyone out there knows I'm talking from a really authentic place because I don't have any agenda and they know I don't have an agenda. So it's actually really nice to be able to do this. With a brand like that, this is what I used to ask as a franchise consultant. What money would you need to make it worth it? Or if you only made X amount of money, would it be like not be worth it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge is, when we entered franchising, we sort of entered in the sort of semi-absentee sort of piece of it to keep, we have good day jobs that pay us decent salaries. So this would be kind of the leap to sort of being all in. So it provides some cash flow, might allow to do the fitness one as well.
Mm.
Just, it'd be kind of, it'd be full time. So it'd be sort of diving all in and sort of choosing this as a lifestyle.
I mean, we know each other. So I like the fact that you are thinking about, from a diversification standpoint, what happens if fitness doesn't come back like we want it to, and things like that, and into the service-based sector. Here's my opinion on the senior care space in general. And again, it's just my opinion. It is a very attractive business to get into because we all see the need for it, right? The market is there and it feels good to take care of them. And so I'm talking about the senior care business. In my mind, I'm thinking normal senior care, which is really a staffing business versus a like caring for senior business. Like you are in a staffing business when you get into a senior care business. No doubt about it. Some of the best franchisees are come from a staffing background. The senior care business, not care and transition, but the senior care business is all about marketing to the hospitals, which is not that easy right now. And there's other ways to market, and then taking care of the elderly population or the population that can't really take care of themselves. And you're doing that by having lower wage employees come and take care of them. And what I've seen, the people that get into that understand it's a staffing, sales and staffing business. They do well on that. The people that get into it because they have a heart to take care of people like this, like my grandparents were taken care of, that's their heart and that's the mission behind it. They usually end up being disenfranchised. They're like, oh my gosh, this isn't what I thought it was. And the thing that they thought they were going to be doing is not what they're actually doing. So that's what I've seen in the senior care business. And again, this isn't a knock on the senior business. This is reality. Like this is who is successful in the senior care business. There's staffing agency people that do really well in that business. So now go on to a company like Caring Transitions, and I know Caring Transitions and some of the main folks there. And it's a really attractive model because it's low cost. So that's really good, right? It's low cost, and you're just kind of the middle person. You're the middle person connecting people, and you get paid on it. It's a cash flow business if you can start cash flowing it. I would say it's probably not an equity building business as some other businesses might be an equity building businesses for an exit someday. It's a sales business. You're always selling. So if you like that aspect of always selling, then like if you're in the fitness space, Todd, and you love the selling the memberships and getting the memberships in there, then this might be an interesting one. Here's my concern for the right person gets into it, they're basically buying themselves a job, or they have this somebody really good that can really work on the business for them. That's probably a good business for them. If they're not wanting to work in the business, is there enough cash flow to meet your expectations? And that's why you need to go back to, if I can't make X amount of money, then this business is not going to be for me. And so then that you have your number, and then you go and you talk to the franchisees. How long did it take you to get to X? And if it took too long, then just this get rid of it. Caring Transitions and ones like them, some people that number will be just perfect for them, and sometimes that it'll be too much for them and they can't do it anymore. Here's the other thing to consider: as we're in COVID, how has their marketing, and this is for any business, how has their marketing strategy changed since we've been in COVID? In the senior care business, it was so much going to the hospitals and talking to the discharge nurses and things like this. Here it would be going into the nursing homes and building a relationship with them, I'm guessing. And can you still do that the same way? And guys, here's what I've seen too. Sometimes there's a better way to do it now. Maybe they've discovered a better way to do it that's cheaper and more effective. And sometimes it's like, dude, this is just really hard. We can't do it this way anymore. But when COVID's over, it's really going to be great. I don't know the answer to any of that, but those are some questions to think about. Validation will be really important with this. One of the other things I think about, Todd, is just the dirty, ugly service-based businesses. The service-based businesses that are absolutely need-based businesses. Already have one that's been affected by COVID. I would go into the next one that's absolutely not affected by COVID in any way. That's what I would be thinking. And that's what I would be advising. Again, in general, if you have a business right now that's affected by COVID, you need to mitigate all risks and go into a business that is not impacted by COVID, because the next thing might impact that other business that's not impacted by COVID. And your COVID business that's impacted right now might be the thing that's making you money in 2 years. So I would definitely have that as a big thing. We have people in the mastermind, you know them too, that could point you in the right direction on some of this. They are franchisees in different businesses. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. So Todd, again, I kind of went off on some tangents there, like I can do sometimes. Any follow-ups on that?
No, I think that's great. I mean, speak to the equity piece because, there's obviously lots of service pieces. What in your mind makes this different? Obviously you can build out a structure, you can have, people doing marketing, all that stuff, eventually. So what part of this do you feel is like less sellable than, some other service business?
This is hunting what you kill. You get a, that's probably a bad way to say it, but this is this is you getting a sale and getting a commission on the sale. This is all commission based stuff. It's like a real estate in the real estate business. Good real estate businesses, but you're only as good as your last commission. You build up referral structures and things like that. Now, if you go into another business that is more, so the roofing business, I'll use that as an example. The good things about the roofing business, the bad things about it, the good things about some of the lower ticket stuff. So I'll use roofing compared to pest control. Roofing, high ticket, storm comes, it needs to be done. There is a demand out there. There's a demand for this. There's lots of competition. There's demand in senior care, demand for the carrying transitions. That is, so there's a demand. That's a good thing. There's a lot of bad players in all of these spaces too. And that's what makes us that are really good at it able to get the business. We can take business away from other senior care businesses. We can take it away from other mom and pop roofers. So big ticket transactions, nice in roofing or any type of service-based business that has big ticket transactions that are not necessarily paid by the customer. A lot of the stuff in the roofing is paid by insurance. So that's what insulates it. It's paid by insurance. It insulates that type of business. Or think about something that has really big, maybe there's really big tax savings for the customer. And that's why they want to get into that. The customer has an incentive to do it beyond just they want to do something. So there's tax advantages, or if somebody's ready to sell a house and the inspector gets up there and says your roof's shot, you should have got that replaced. The mortgage company isn't going to let you sell that house to this person unless that roof is replaced. All of a sudden, now that is a need. So I love the need-based stuff in service-based businesses. In the carrying transition stuff, this is your competition. Your competition is the senior care place that is taking care of somebody that's just referring to them and not getting paid on it. So there are other solutions to that. People use those guys as referral sources. They refer business back and forth versus paying for it. So that's one thing to think about, like who really is your competition in any business. The competition usually is something more than we think it is. Now let me go to the mosquito company or just pest control in general, because that was just for the roofing. I like big ticket insurance-based work, anything that is need-based for big ticket, because that's a cash flow coming in right away. Now you go, or HVAC. HVAC's another one of those that are interesting like that. Skill set for HVAC's different than for roofing, but that both can be overcome. Go into like pest control. That is recurring revenue. It takes a little bit longer to build it up, but somebody that wants to come and buy a business, and let's say that pest control companies making $100,000 EBITDA, and they know next year it's going to make $100,000 because the last 3 years you've lost 5% of your customers, you've always gained 10% more. So it's very stable and predictable. So I would be willing to pay more if there was a path to make $100,000 in this business versus we have some relationships that may or may not be there in a year from now in another type of business. So I like the smaller transaction, recurring revenue type businesses like pest control. And there's a bunch of them out there that are like that. So make sense?
Yeah, thank you much.
Any follow-ups on that?
I don't think so. That don't makes good sense.
We can always follow up on that ourselves one-on-one too.
Yeah. Thank you.
You got it.
So, Eric,
Go ahead, Terry.
I feel like a kid in a candy store right now with all of these different opportunities. I
Yep.
mean, it's crazy. And I believe and agree with everything you're talking about. High ticket items with roofing, the pest control, love it. And
Mhm.
I love the lack of a brick and mortar. I mean, that takes away the need for personal guarantees on a 10-year lease. So, a lot of great
Yeah,
feedback.
there's a lot of things that people don't think about, right? When you're getting into a brick and mortar, is you think about the rent, but you don't think about how you have to be on that lease for 5 years. Even after you sell it, you might have to be on that lease. So there are some
Right.
things like that.
I had a question. I think you communicated with Luke. I was standing in for him today.
That's
He's
right.
kind of curious, and obviously a train's coming by right when I unmute, but he was curious on your roofing business, or what are you looking for there? Is it something more owner operator or scalable?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. And I think this will help a lot of people out because the term out there is semi-absentee ownership. And a lot of people, I think that's overused in a lot of places. So back to the roofing company. And again, I will not make this just about the roofing company because I'll make this for takeaways for all kinds of different brands. We are not looking for a semi-absentee owner. We don't want somebody that has a job, wants to keep their job, and wants to hire someone for $15, $20 an hour to run a really big business for them. That is what we don't want. What we do want are people that come from a like a project management background, or they've managed salespeople before, or this is and they want to be in the business and work in the business and build the business, and then transition. They can transition to it more of a lifestyle once they've built that business. So that's how we see that going. And so as a franchisor, that means we're going to get really good people in there that are working hard on the business, and they're going to build up the goal is to build up a really strong business where they can eventually move into that lifestyle and hire that key person in the key roles that they need. And I think that applies to a lot of businesses, right? I would say that's most franchises out there. That's probably the mindset that most of us owners should have going into it. But we get allured by the thought of keeping my day job. And there are brands that you can keep your day job, absolutely. But they're few and far between. And here's my thing on that. If a franchisor says you can keep your day job, and this is what I would tell everybody that used to work with me as a consultant. If they say you can keep your day job, then you talk to franchisees that kept their day job as they started, not the franchisee that doesn't have a day job now and is on the beach in Hawaii because they've built this business up. That's not the same thing. That is, they've worked hard in the business and then scaled back. So you need to talk to somebody that's doing what you want to do, whatever that is. And this is what I would say to everybody. You need to talk to franchisees that are doing what you want to do. Now, you can't always do that. In the roofing brand, like, we don't have a bunch of franchisees for you to talk to. So then you just have to go back to, like, I probably can't do this full semi-absentee. If they're telling me to, can I? The roofing space, we're really looking for franchisees that can be active in the business, project manager type people, and maybe they come from another business. They own another business and they've built teams, and maybe they have somebody that is strong that can oversee that kind of that other business because they've worked with the owner for so long. That's possible. That's interesting because they know business already. But the person that has a job, wanting to leave a job or keep a job and start a business, man, all of you that own businesses, it's not easy starting a business if you just come from corporate America. It is not as easy as business isn't as easy as we think it is. But us crazy business owners um, do it, and we like it. All right, what else is out there?
I guess my question would be, I know everyone's a little bit nervous about the whole fitness sector right now. And me, like some others, I see Brand and Todd are involved in fitness. And one of the things I'm actually looking at is going into fitness much stronger right now and across multiple brands. And, I keep checking myself in the mirror going, what are you doing? What do you think? I mean, and part of my analysis is the assumption that, let's say that we're in COVID for 12 to 16 more months. Right. And by the way, when I mentioned that to the presidents of these brands, they almost threw up. But, that's at least has to be my assumption for my capital raise and my cash flow requirements. Right. I'm just wondering if anyone else is thinking the same type of thing. Right. When you look at COVID and the industries that are affected, do you see? I mean, I'm seeing this as a potential real good opportunity. I don't know if others are seeing that or feeling that way about other people. I see Michael shaking his head, so I'm hoping he's got something brilliant to share and help me feel a little bit better about myself.
So I'm seeing both. I'm seeing, and then sometimes it's the same person talking. I had a conversation today with somebody. They're like, do I double down or do I get out? And
Right.
some people might be thinking I'm talking about them. Probably am talking about them, but you're not the one I had the conversation with, because we all, I think, have those conversations in the back of our head. Those are us that are in the industry. We are looking at, I wouldn't say we're not doubling down, but we are definitely looking for opportunity. Our memberships are increasing every month. Every month we have membership increases right now, and that's a good trend. So I'm watching that trend. It's super state specific too. Like, I mean, if you have a governor that doesn't like that, try to be really politically correct here, Michael. If you have a governor that is not helping gyms stay open, or if you have a governor that's helping gyms stay closed, whatever that governor is doing does have an impact on your business. And I know because I hear from my Republican and Democrat friends that are really happy with their governor, Republican or Democrat, or really upset with their governor, Democrat or Republican, because they are business owners. So that would absolutely play into where I go. But then to your point, I mean, there's going to be franchisees in the fitness space where their mindset is they're just over it, Jason. They are just
Right.
over it and they will walk away and you will buy things for $0.
Mhm.
You will buy things for $0. That will absolutely happen. And that may not even be a good move, and it might be a great move. But I think the way that you're thinking about it, kind of planning that worst case scenario, is the way to do it. And that's how, as a franchisor, that they know that's going to happen. They know they're going to have franchisees that are going to be buying out other franchisees, and that's how that franchisor is going to work, and make it work for them. And
Right.
that's just how franchising, guys. That's franchising.
Mhm.
There's good and the bad. People come in, they don't make it. Somebody else is going to buy them out for less than they wanted for it because they didn't make it. And that's how these brands just get built. And that's like I said, that's a good thing and a bad thing. If you're a mom and pop business owner, there's not going to be nobody that comes and buys your brand. So you just failed. At least in franchising, there's somebody that is going to take that over because the franchisor wants it to, and there's going to be franchisees that want to expand, like you. Anything else on that one? I see we got some more.
Yeah, hey, we also have a 202 number that's joined us, and they've been trying to come on and ask a question, I've noticed. So I'm going to give you space to ask your question. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Andy. I'm looking to get into water and fire mitigation. I'm in Washington, D.C. area. I'm new to the business world. I'm new to the franchising world. I'm new to the mitigation world. I'm new to everything. So, your opinion?
So it's basically the restoration business. Is that it?
Yes.
So I like the restoration business in general for a lot of the reasons that we had said before. And I see there's some other questions coming in. I'll get to those on the chat. But I like the restoration business in general. The franchisor, sometimes you need the franchisor to be awesome or you're just in trouble, but the restoration business, if the franchisor is not awesome, then you're probably not in trouble because there's a lot of really good coaches out there that can help you in that business. There's always a lot of business to be had in there, and you just have to be a little bit better than a lot of the competitors out there. And again, it goes back to like the roofing space. A water pipe water is flooding a basement. Something needs to happen, right? It's not like they're going to go shop around a bunch of places. Like if you pick up the phone and you have the skills to be able to get there and solve their problem, you're going to get the business. So at least in short term. So I like the restoration business a lot. Now there's some that are better than others out there in the restoration space. So what I would do is I would make sure that I look at a number of them out there and see how happy the franchisees are with them. Man, I like that space. Here's the thing that I would say about that. Just like you heard me say things about these other businesses, if they're promising you keep your job, work 5 hours a week in the restoration business, that is likely not going to be a good thing. So some restoration companies are very clear on that and they're setting you up for success, and others are not. And then see what they're going to do for you. Like how are they helping you? Do they have a call center? Do they have a lot of help with social media? How are they with helping you with getting reviews, right? The good reviews and helping you with all of that kind of stuff. If they're good at that, and then the other thing is nobody has this secret sauce in this stuff. We all have things like in the roofing space, we have things that we're going to do very, very well, but nothing replaces out there being able to be good at being in front of a customer and having good customer service. We don't have a secret potion to put on shingles a different way that is way better than all the competition. So see the things that they help you with. At the end of the day, this is what we like to say at Mighty Dog Roofing is like, we want to do the things that we can do at scale so the franchisees can focus on the things that are important to them in their local market. So they can drive revenue in their business and keep their expenses down so they can have net profit at the end of the day. That's what we want them to do. We can focus on all these other things so they don't have to be focused on them all the time. So is that helpful?
I believe so. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on. Somebody said thoughts on F45 again. Lee, you need to get in the mastermind, man. We had someone that owns F45 and they're in the eyelash business, and we were talking very openly about that. And I think I don't know a whole lot about F45. I know it's a really good workout from friends that do it. I also know that they have some different challenges. Most brands do. They have different challenges. And are those challenges going to be deal breakers for you? It's a company out of Australia, ton of success in Australia. But I would talk to franchisees that are with F45 and they are in a market similar to yours or in your market to kind of see what they're doing. And then I would, see why they are successful. That's it, so much of it. Like one of the reasons we were successful at Solo Salon Studios is because we got into it when there's a downturn in the commercial real estate market. That's why we were making really good money because we got really good real estate deals, because that's when we came in. And as I look back on that, nobody asked me that question. Like how much better are your real estate deals now, 5 years into it, than 4 years ago? Like, what's that delta? Why is it so much better? No one asked me that question when they were validating. And I, just didn't, as a franchisee that's validating, it's not fun for me to validate with franchisees. Anytime you call up a franchisee to validate with them and ask them what their experience is, guys, that's not the most exciting thing for them to do. And they're probably not going to say bad things about the franchise most of the time. If they are, they probably have a chip on their shoulder. But it's just like, think about it this way. If you were getting a reference for somebody that that's looking for a job, how are you going to respond? You're not going to be super enjoyable to pick up that phone, especially if you know that you're not really happy with them. You're going to just kind of give bland answers. And I'd be looking for that when I validate, like just okay answers means they probably have something to say, but they're not really saying it. So just dig on validation. So anyway, F45 is two people asked about F45. It's an interesting one, but there's also some things to be aware of. And I just go in with your eyes wide open with that one.
What I've heard and what I've seen, I've talked to a few franchisees, is that if you were there early on, you're doing well. They expanded rapidly and their territory size are extremely small. And so the people who came on later on are the ones suffering. And so the ones that are on sale in the market are the ones that recently opened up in the past year and a half, and they just haven't been able to capture the market like the ones that initially opened up 2 years ago.
And guys, that's a really good point, Lee. In general, you need and this is franchising. Early on, you get really big territories most of the time because they want to sell territories. Mighty Dog Roofing, we're not doing that. Like we know what we're doing, and this is not our first rodeo. But a lot of new brands, really big territories to get people to come in, and then territories shrink. And do they shrink to a good size, or do they shrink to a size that is, not sustainable and not good for you? So you cannot compare apples to apples. That's an excellent point, guys. This is why you need like calls like this. Like if Terry, you'd agree, like if anybody listening to this call, this is like an extremely valuable call for anybody that's looking at a franchise. Holy cow, they're getting some good information. Anything else before we wrap up? Michael, do you remember any of those questions that we were getting that we want to get to?
No, I don't think you sent me those questions, Erik. I'm sorry, I'm not finding them.
You blaming me?
I have a question.
Go for it.
So I am looking to buy my first franchise. I got pulled into the concept of franchising specifically because of a brand that speaks to me as both a human and a businessman. I've done validation since May. I like what I'm seeing overall. I like to go in with my eyes open, and there's always things that I do not know. So I guess I have two-part question, one of which is I'm going to give you the space if anyone has any just general thoughts on it. And then my second question has to do specifically with regard to financing. And I'm actually going to start there with financing. So I am in the fortunate position of having a tremendous, I have a lot to offer in terms of my owner operator vision and my background for this specific business, the territory I'm looking at. Everything seems great. I am not holding a lot of cash in my pocket at all. So I need money. So basically, I've done some exploration on that in friends and family. I'm getting to the point now where I may need to expand outside of friend and family conversations. And I'm kind of curious as to a rule of thumb or just thoughts on how can I look to the long run for when I am successful, down the line in a few years? Is there a kind of a threshold of me offering equity that I may perhaps be upset that I went past that threshold? I can look to the coming years and look at what my profits will be and know what will make me work, but I don't know what's going to work for me in a handful of years. So any thoughts on that first?
I think about that. I'll try to give shorter answers.
Sure.
Because I know I can go off on tangents. So I think about that as like at a job. I advise people, and I was advised this a long time ago. Get a job to learn something, to learn a skill, to learn, not just to get a paycheck. I do go in the same thing. But I didn't have the money for something, man. Give me 5% equity, pay me something, because I'm using this as a learning experience so I can get the money or do something. So I would hope that in 5 years that you are massively upset that you gave up way too much equity, because that means you did a really good job on that. And that person, no matter who it is that's their money that they'll never get back. And that is a massive risk that they're taking. So I would always try to think of things from their perspective and try to give more than you think you should give, because you are not in that power position. That's how I would think about it. What's the brand or what's the space?
Sure, the space is childhood music education.
What are the franchisees telling you? What are franchisees telling you in that space?
Sure, a lot of hard work, which I love to hear, and a lot of desire in the right markets. And I do believe from the research I've done that the market has a tremendous amount of potential in terms of the size of the addressable population as well as their financial demographics. In terms of the cost of my premium service would be, I think it aligns very well. And I know from my background that I will build an environment and a team that will support this over time. Not with an overconfident manner do I say that, but just with confidence and comfortability with the space of both engaging with children as well as with parents, background of that. So I can, yes.
Okay. In the tax business, we hated getting people that were CPAs in the tax business. Like, they were going to be a disaster as a business owner because they loved doing taxes. We didn't want a bookkeeper in the tax business because they loved doing taxes. My gut, honest reaction, man, is, dude, you're really good at music and all of this. I don't want you owning a music business, because you're going to be teaching the stinking classes instead of building the business. That's my gut reaction, Michael. And I'm not saying I'm right.
Sure.
On the flip side of that, maybe that is the spot. And maybe because you are really good at that, then you can, if it's more like a one-on-one type thing, you are that first music teacher, and you can bring in the business and things like that. But that would be my concern. But I'm kind of from the school of thought of, don't do a business just because it's your passion. So I don't say this from the point of I'm right. I say this is really my perspective, and other people have different views on that. And so I don't want to discourage you at all, man. I just want to let you know, like, that's my initial gut reaction. Brandy, are you there? What would you say? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, no, not at all. So I'm in the fitness industry as well. I own a few 5 studios, and I happen to love the fitness concept, and I happen to love business even more. So if I had to choose one, I would choose not teaching classes, in which I don't, anymore. But I would choose to run the business. And from a partner perspective, or if a franchisor, I guess if I put my franchisor hat on, if I had that hat, I would want people who know business, because the business fundamentals and concepts can apply across any industry, really. So I think if you can find someone that loves business and loves the industry, I think that's a great combo. But I would personally, like Erik, it doesn't really matter what the industry is. It's the person who, you have to know the business side. You have to be able to run a small business. So those are my comments.
Thanks, Brandon. I knew Brandy would have some really good comments, Michael, because because of what she said. She loves the fitness. She did instruct, and yet so I didn't know what she was going to say. I just knew she had more experience in that than I did. Here's the other thing. you are going to end up being a business owner managing musicians or people that teach music versus doing the thing yourself. That's what you'll end up
Yeah.
doing. And so that's something that you want, like, and you can see yourself doing that. That's what the business you're in. So just like, what business are you in? You're in the business of recruiting and keeping really good uh, music teachers. That's the business that you're probably in. It's probably even more than that, but it's not teaching it yourself. It's you're in the business of keeping them happy. That's like in the salon business and salon suites. I was in the real estate business. I wasn't in the salon business. They did their own thing. I didn't manage them. And they were coming into our space at Sola because they wanted to get out of the drama of the salon and have their own space. So we were in the business, in the real estate business of helping entrepreneurs have their own space and their own business. So just figure out what the business really is.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
It's me with mitigation restoration thing again. So you guys are talking a lot about business side, about being ready to do it probably. As I said, I have no experience. How you deal with the fear of getting into something like this? It's at first you're afraid of giving away your money, not knowing the results, not knowing the industry, and not having any idea of what to expect.
Yep, that is, and I love being able to answer this again as a guy that doesn't have anything to be gained from you doing doing it or not. Like business owners execute business, like people, it's your mindset. If you have that mindset, like you've got to make it work, and you're going to do it no matter what, even if you fail. That's what you got to do. And if failing, dude, I've had a failure. I've had 6 brands, 1 failure, big failure. And I got lucky, or I don't know if lucky is a word, but I've had a lot of wins and I have had some losses. We were talking about it in the mastermind. Some people have had some losses. So you just got to be able to stomach that. And you might not be able to stomach it right now, but as you get into it and you just know, you have to want it more than what you want your life right now. You have to want that freedom or whatever it is that you want your future to be like. You have to want that more than you love the safety and security, or to perceive safety and security of your life right now. That's what you have to do. And that's what us entrepreneurs do. Like when I was first in it, I wasn't doing that great. And I looked around me and I thought I was doing everything everybody else was doing. And I realized they were doing 10x what I was doing. And I had to look at myself in the mirror and like, Erik, you just got to do more. And I had to do it. And I 10x what I was doing in marketing and in just everything to make it work. And as a business owner, you have to have that mentality. And then think about this too. The franchisor, we think about it when we're buying a franchise. I'm the one taking the risk because I'm buying a franchise. I'm the one taking the risk. I'm giving them my $50,000 or $100,000. They're taking a risk on you. They're going to be losing money on you if you don't make it work, because lost opportunity cost, if you don't do very well, they're going to have to put a lot of time and attention for you to not do very well. So there's that risk. But just, there's all kinds of risks that they take on you. All the franchisors' costs are front loaded. So just really keep that in mind. Are they selling you to buy? 100% that they're selling you and they want you to buy. But are you selling yourself? Are you playing the same sales game? 100% you are. When we're looking at a franchise, we are selling ourselves, even if we convince ourselves that we're not trying to sell ourselves, that they should want us to do it. So then just a little bit more, you get to the point where it's decision time. You're going to buy that franchise or not. Here's the thing. If you go to Discovery Day or whatever that point is where they want you to make a decision, it's decision time. If you don't make a decision, if you just want to extend it a week, another week, you shouldn't be doing it. You need to go in there with a plan, make a decision, you're doing it or not, and live with that decision, because that's what entrepreneurs do. That's what good franchisees do. If they execute, they make decisions. And that's one of the things that I've seen. The people that don't make decisions, aren't able to make decisions, aren't really going to be great franchisees, because that's just the first of many hard decisions that you're going to have to make as a business owner. And we just hired a director of marketing at Muddy Dog Roofing. And I said to her, I said, what I like about you is that you were absolutely decisive on this job. I said, because you're going to hear me say it to franchisees that are coming into Mighty Dog Roofing. We want you to make a decision. It's the investigating time's over. It's decision time. And I said, if they don't make a decision, they can't make a decision. They're not right for entrepreneurship, or maybe not right now for entrepreneurship. So man, everything that you said is absolutely true. You just have to know in your gut that you're going to do whatever it takes to make it work. And because there are going to be hard times, I can guarantee that. But I also, man, on the other side, the lifestyle, the things that I have, the things that I can do, it's because of franchising. And it's been so incredibly good for me. It hasn't been easy. I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, but it's been incredible. And I wouldn't change anything about it. I wouldn't buy the failure. I wouldn't do that. But man, I've learned so much from that, and I've helped so many other people because of that. And I think I'll leave you with this one last thing. I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk says, like, until you've been punched in the face, you're not really an entrepreneur. I went a long time before being punched in the face, and I got punched in the face, meaning I had a failure, and like I embraced it. I didn't blame other people for it. I embraced it. And what did I do in my part to fail at that business? And then I owned it, and it's going to make me a lot more money by owning that and learning from it in the future. So that's my mindset. If you have some of what I'm thinking about, if like that resonates with you, then you've got what it takes. If it freaks you out, probably should keep a job.
That's interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Being an entrepreneur isn't for everybody, and that's okay. I love that you're looking at it. I think you're looking in a good place. Brandy, thank you. She said, listen to the Franchise Secrets podcast and the Franchise Story podcast. Those are really good. I'm part of both of them, so I'm a little biased on how good they are, I think. But we give some really good information. And just for you, I interviewed Gary Finley with Restoration One. I've interviewed other, so there's, so he's in the restoration space. Go listen to that one. And I think we've interviewed some franchisees that are in the restoration space as well. So just dive in, get knowledgeable. But when it comes time to make a decision, just make a decision. If it's a yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, it's a no. My encouragement is just make that decision and own it, whatever way it is.
Thank you.
You got it. Well,
you wrap it up?
I think we should wrap it up.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Whether you're watching or listening, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to whatever channel you're listening on. If you want my help with anything from buying a franchise to franchising your business, please visit franchisesecrets.com.